After my wife admitted to infidelity while drunk, I became a robot and kicked her out. 3 attempts to reunite led to my divorce. After 9 years together, Kate at 30F and I at 32M, we married 4 years ago. Our collaboration has been lovely and inspiring. We communicate better, argue less, and get along better before bed. I've always said we'd break up if infidelity happened again. Kate was with her family last weekend as usual. After arguing about house cleaning on Friday night, we didn't chat much on Saturday, even though I knew she was going to a pub with friends. I trusted her, so no problem. I wished her good night before bed. Kate left me a missed call at 4 in the morning on Sunday, so I called her immediately away to check on her. She stayed mute. I tried again a few hours later but got no response. I received a reply an hour later saying she was all right and would return in her car. Kate looked dreadful when she got home late afternoon. She looked exhausted, sobbing, and makeup-free. She didn't hug or talk to me, even if something was wrong. I put her on the couch with tea. After I politely asked what was wrong, she cried fiercely for at least 5 minutes as I tried to quiet her. She repeated that she had slept with someone the night before after the pub. An epiphany. Inexplicable. I got in my car and left. I walked around a park for over an hour. Kate kept calling, so I hung up. I brought 2 bags from the garage to our bedroom when I got home. I left them at the front door with Kate's clothes and shoes. Kate cried in a lump on the living room floor. I called Kate and told her I could explain everything to her best friend later, and that she simply needed a place to stay and transportation to her apartment. The neighborhood has Kate's best pal. I told Kate I would be gone for an hour since her friend was picking her up. She gripped my legs to stop me. When I returned home, Kate and the cases were gone. On Monday, after calming down, I returned one of Kate's regular calls and asked her to email me as much information as possible about that night. Reconciliation is impossible if she leaves anything out. This email arrived late Monday, but I haven't opened it. Since then, everyone has tried to reach me, but I've been working, exercising, and sleeping. I ordered her to go see Kate and close the door when one of her friends demanded an explanation at my house. I've transferred money, contacted divorce lawyers, and blacklisted Kate and her friends on all social media. Everything I've done since learning feels natural. I'm not mad, just numb. Kate sent me a letter through the door yesterday, so I'm not sure if we should meet tomorrow. Should we meet? Will anything change? Is amends worthwhile? How can I stop feeling robotic? Is this typical? Kate said it was consensual when I got home. Her job was done well while drunk. Update. I didn't read the email, but your comments convinced me to visit Kate. Kate arrived yesterday and looked dreadful when I opened the door. I whispered my apology after breaking her hug. I told Kate I would videotape our conversation, and she agreed. I told her I hadn't read her email and asked her to clarify. After telling me she went to the bar with 2 pals I like, Kate informed me what she drank. I was shocked she only had a few glasses of wine and a cocktail before dinner. We usually have several. It was confirmed that she was sober. The 27-year-old brother of her friend Sarah, Max, took them up at midnight. Their gang has joked about Max's Kate obsession since high school. After eating, the 4 split, leaving Max and Kate alone. Kate said she'd order an Uber from his apartment to avoid driving 20 minutes to her parents' house after working all day. She couldn't use Uber in his flat. Max offered to move the sofa so she could sleep on his bed and pick her up the next morning. Kate rejected and kept hunting for an Uber. Sitting on his bed, Max kissed her. Kissing led to sex. Max drove her home as she cried guiltily. After another hour of crying, she tried to apologize to me. Kate stopped us because she was crying uncontrollably. She said she was in the moment, loved me, made a big mistake, etc. After she finished, I informed her her story didn't make sense, but I was done. Another meltdown followed. I informed her that we would live apart for a month while I filed for divorce. I assured her we would have full STD panels and stay true. We instructed her to notify our friends and family. I want to discuss about divorce possibilities with her again, if she follows these recommendations. She eagerly consented but knew I wouldn't stay. I know many of you would disagree, but I need to be sure a divorce is the best option. I must be optimistic even if I'm 99% sure that's where we're going. Update 2. After last week's events, I updated anyone interested. I'm not a robot. Despite working out, I've had violent betrayals. Since learning the truth, my friends have been fantastic, taking me out. The email made me regret it. Kate didn't mention she went to Max's residence for an Uber, but her email tale was similar. They also detailed their behaviors, length, and condom use. I contemplate this description. Many who attacked me for kicking Kate out of the house have apologized, but they can still do so. Since we were friends, I spoke with Kate's parents when they regretted. They advised me to communicate but understood if I divorced. I considered 2 options. Kate's other friend brought her story to me that evening. Home bar food went well. Kate declined to stay at her house because she had an early morning commute. Max advised Kate to return home. Instead of calling an Uber, Kate accepted Max's invitation to enter. She said something like a year ago when I asked if she suspected anything. She had coffee with Kate with Max next to her. Kate said they met by mistake. Despite appearing guilty, Sarah, Max's sister, contacted me and we talked. She told me she was unhappy with Kate and Max. Since learning of Max's health, she hasn't spoken to Kate, and her family seems furious with him. She apologized for her dumb brother and said she had told him to avoid Kate since high school. She assumed they hadn't done anything else. I heard Kate was moving into an Airbnb near our house, but I haven't heard from her. In recent weeks, she has called in sick to work, indicating her struggles. Her current acquaintance supports her, and I requested her parents to watch her. Her parents visited this weekend. I partied with friends at a bar over the weekend. I should have stopped talking to her to save face, but I refused to take her home. After reading the email and hearing what they did, I believe this could be handled. Perhaps because she lies to me about other things, and I might tell Kate right away instead of waiting a month. Version 3. Because many people are curious about this scenario, I submitted this update despite my doubts. I apologize for the intimacy. I received an email from Kate last week to pick up work materials. I reluctantly let her in because I was at the gym on Thursday night, but my lawyer insisted. I instructed her to go by 7:30, but she was still there when I got home at 8. I saw Mom slicing vegetables for dinner and other activities on the stairs. She looked great in one of my favorite dresses thanks to her hair and cosmetics. Cleaning and organizing were complete. I politely requested her to leave, but she stopped and spoke. Even though I should have rejected, I agreed. After settling in, we talked for an hour about various topics. I repeated that I would record the audio and she agreed. I first questioned if she followed our last tactic as discussed. Her STI and pregnancy tests were negative, mine were too. She told a few friends and family that she hadn't been with anybody else, but many were unpleasant and ignored her. I answered several weeks-old questions. She said the Uber narrative was a fake, and that she went to Max's place for a drink despite feeling uneasy. Only selfishness and attention-seeking explain her behavior. She wrote Max many times since he always made her feel great and complimented her. She said she never sent him graphic texts or photographs, but she didn't want to trick him. He always started. Kate told me they had dated for 6 months but never had sex before meeting us. She admitted to being inherently curious. Her story of getting caught at the coffee shop says Max questioned her why she was there when she texted him. She claims they haven't done anything since dating. She stated we had a great relationship and she hates herself for hurting me and ruining her perfect marriage. It wasn't worth talking about her narrative because I didn't trust it. What would I need to do to make this right, she gently asked, handing up her phone, revealing her location, refusing to leave the house without me, etc. It was clear she did her homework. I told her I'd never get over the betrayal and didn't want to guard her prison. An unexpected event surprised me. Please stop recording so we may discuss privately about something she didn't want others to know. After I declined, she persisted reluctantly. She asked if we had sex since then, indicating her approval. I told her no, and she thought I was crazy because we had sex almost daily. We then discussed all the horrific things I could do to and with her. Some of these kinky things I'd never done. If we didn't get together, she offered to look after me. She offered to help me have as many threesomes as I wanted or locate partners to slash me. I kept quiet till she asked who I wanted to have a threesome with to turn me against her. Kate's coworker was 5 years younger for whatever reason. She was shocked, but she was too bewildered to ask about my plans for her. Kate understood. When I detailed the terrible scenario until I encouraged her to watch, she was surprised again, but she agreed. I felt bad when I realized everything I said was a petty attempt to hurt Kate. Her strategy worked when she sat in my favorite sofa position, pulled up her dress, and asked for sex. My body briefly responded to my poor concentration. I finally understood her email and couldn't delete it. I laughed wildly. Not chuckle, but excellent laugh. She fled, crying and hurt. She left as told, possibly humiliated. I told her to hire a lawyer right now because we're divorcing. Post-nut clarity showed I had escaped after she went. My court appearance is later this week to commence this divorce quickly. Last-minute edit. One last update for everyone. I haven't seen Kate much because these months have been hard. I suggested a quiet talk because we hadn't spoken in weeks. We silently discussed what happened and whether to apologize at lunch. Kate provided no guarantees, but I believe her when she says she will do whatever to make things right. Kate then requested that we visit her married couple's therapist. After several days, I caved in. Despite the heated discussion, Kate's infidelity was never mentioned. The therapist's objectivity surprised us. We spoke about reconciling, but I advised her to divorce. I went to her parents' place last week to return some tools her dad lent me. We talked after Kate's parents left for a few hours. When I spoke with her parents alone, they were upset but supportive. I informed Kate that I wanted a divorce after considerable contemplation. During our conversation, I felt we would never be able to recover, and I would never get over the betrayal. I cannot risk 10 years of hard work to regain trust, even if we succeed. After Kate gave her permission, we discussed selling the property, separating our assets, and other items quietly. Additionally, we emailed our attorneys. Our goodbyes were graceful. House will be listed soon, and divorce should be finalized by year's end. We won't talk or date until everything's resolved. After a few flings, being single again feels strange. I'm exercising, going out, and rekindling my passions. I'm still mourning my divorce, but I'm optimistic and think it made me stronger. Appreciate all the advice and assistance. Additional tale. I saw my spouse's affair as harmless because to her, I mistrusted her after looking at her phone. Sharing my hardships online was never my intention. So here I am. I'm whining to show others that hope is possible even in the darkest situations. Tom here, a software developer. I'm your ordinary guy. This is how my ex-wife Sarah transformed my life. I met Sarah 8 years ago through mutual contact. Her real estate job was her passion. I was amazed by her client dedication. Sarah was always busy and active. Improves our lives. Continually. She made you believe everything was possible with enough effort. I may have joked that I would trust her to buy a house and more when we started dating. I said yes. She passionately recounted her favorite movies from our first date, which we attended at the theater. Sarah spoke easily and captivated me. She almost stole my heart at first sight. Since our first date, I knew Sarah's busy schedule. Real estate requires long, irregular hours. She thanked me for my work assistance. We worked well together due to my 9-5 job and her unpredictable schedule. It was okay since she liked what she did and I loved her. However, one thing bothered me immediately. Sarah bonded with Mike at work. Mike worked at the same real estate company, and they often met. As co-workers, I didn't think much of it. I noticed more work meetings over time. Sarah's statements on Mike have always confused me. Envy rarely occurs. Sarah's career goals should be possible. I was angry that she took Mike's calls on our dates. I said she seemed in love with Mike. Sarah's defensiveness and outburst at me were probably jokes. I noted it briefly to check in. Tom, you and Mike seemed pretty close. Sarah laughed. Together, we work well. Don't worry about him. I wanted to trust her. A odd feeling. I abandoned it. I didn't want to make difficulties because we were happy. They spent less time together once Mike shifted departments. Sarah joked that she was sad to see him go. I joked she was mine, not Mike's. Thinking about it, was that a joke? Sarah accepted my marriage proposal after a few years. Our beautiful daughter was born soon after we married and bought a home. Life seemed good. I knew Sarah worked hard, but I assumed it was part of being married to a successful professional. The cosmos was our baby Lily, and it felt great. Mike returned to the photo. Sometimes, but often enough to notice. Sarah joked that she may see him at work or on a deal. Since we had a child and were married for a long time, I dismissed it. She wouldn't risk all for a fast coworker. Sarah said Mike returned to their office. They said that branch needs more workers. It might harm her work, I wondered. Sarah responded by saying nothing was happening. She gained my trust then. Even though he broke up with his fiancée, she said Mike was good at closing deals. A year before, everything changed. Sarah started working overtime. She blamed client meetings or closings for her delay. First, no one questioned it. It was usual for her job to be difficult. In real estate. More late evenings worsened my worry. Seeing details helped me concentrate. The unexpected SMS alerts and her smile at her phone showed Mike was busy. Everything seemed random. Sarah lost her kindness. Despite our busy schedules and the child, she didn't always kiss me goodnight. She tightened and hugged me back. Unease abounded. My mistrust grew even though I didn't want to. After Sarah arrived home late one night, I decided to find out. I felt horrible staring at her phone in the shower. I found impassioned texts between her and Mike too personal for coworkers. Odd hours were set for client meetings and showings. Researching her past was the turning moment. I found that she was visiting Mike's address, unconnected to her recent transactions. She deceived me by meeting him secretly while I was raising our child. I was furious. It would have driven me nuts to approach Sarah, so I planned. For a showing with Sarah and Mike, I faked to buy. I wanted to discover why and punish Sarah. I called Sarah and Mike's office pretending to like their co-listed house. Both approved my private showing appointment. I arrived early and waited in my car at the showing. Sarah and Mike came together, laughing and relaxed. They were kissing when I noticed. Now, in daylight. Sarah's wedding band was off. It showed me how little she valued our marriage outside the home. I wanted to flee what I saw. But I understood I had to execute my plan alone. I left the car and walked. Sarah's reaction to me was priceless. She froze as Mike paled. They knew why I was there. I spoke up quickly. I asked Sarah whether she wanted to sell everything. Her halting explanation was unacceptable. I turned around and left, shocking them. That night, I packed Sarah's things and told her to leave. When we lived together, I wouldn't tolerate her mistreatment of me in our relationship. I kept Lily because Sarah did so much. It was painful to divorce. Sarah claimed I exaggerated. I needed no more proof. Lily became my sole charge. All Sarah could do was manage her behavior. Retaliation was coming for Mike. Though married, he had an affair with Sarah. Mike's wife filed. After learning of his divorce, Mike's reputation and family suffered. Despite the challenges, my goal has been to start over. I would do whatever to give Lily the best life possible now that she is my world. Being a single father is hard. But my family and friends help. We operate. This is my story. It's painful to consider. After all these years, it was shocking to see that Sarah could injure me and still remain in our relationship. It still hurts to think about. Thank heavens I can continue.